This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Carter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy for today, October the 30th, is a wrestler who's still wrestling, even though he's now 48 years old. He's a Canadian wrestler. Perfect. I like that. He's on SmackDown. And he's done a lot of great things in his career. I mean, he was an independent wrestler by the age of 19. He got a developmental deal with WWE in 1997 and made his TV debut as Edge. Well, of course, that is Adam Copeland. He won the Intercontinental belt in 1999 and would form a tag team with his best friend Christian, and would go on to win the World Tag Team belt on not one, not two, but 7 occasions. Basically, the TLC matches were Edge's playground, and he was a great wrestler in that. Edge and Christian would have a split as a tag team in 2001, and Edge decided to have a solo career. His solo career is much better than Christian's, unfortunately. Edge actually has won 31 belts in his championship. He's second after R-Truth, but R-Truth always wins the 24/7 belt. He's won the World Heavyweight Championship 7 times, the WWE title 4 times, the Intercontinental belt 5 times, the U.S. Championship once, the World Tag Team 12 times, and the WWE Tag Team belt twice. So he was a tag champ 14 times. He is the 7th wrestler to win every possible belt at the time, a Grand Slam champion, who's won 4 specific titles. List of WWE Grand Slam winners. So, of course, there's a revised thing about winning a primary championship, whether it be the WWE belt or the Universal belt, and then a tag team belt, Raw or SmackDown, and then secondary Intercontinental in the United States. So, yeah, it's kind of complicated. Edge is King of the Ring 2001, won the Money in the Bank in 2005, and won the Royal Rumble in 2010. Edge would have to retire because of neck injuries in 2011 and was inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame the following year. But somehow, in some way, he got to 9 seasons. 9 years later, he returned to competition in the 2020 Royal Rumble and won the Royal Rumble in 2021, becoming the 8th man to win it twice. So this was weird. He was actually in the sci-fi series Haven and as a recurring character in Vikings. So he loved wrestling. Edge did. He actually ended up at age 16 attending WrestleMania 6 at the Skydome in the 11th row at ringside. He was cheering on Hulk Hogan, and he wanted to be a wrestler. He credits this match for helping him. He won an essay contest with his local gym at 17 to have free wrestling training with Sweet Daddy Siki and Ron Hutchinson. He would put his wrestling aspirations aside to pay the bills and hold numerous jobs, and then went to Humber College with a degree in radio broadcasting. Then he got training. He would train a lot during the weekend. All that. He actually wrestled on the independent circuit under the name Sexton Hardcastle, which was funny and all that. So anyway, he would be paired up with Christian Cage, aka Christian, and they were known as the Canadian Rockers at one time. Edge actually was in a show in Ajax where Bret Hart's business manager, Carl DeMarco, said that he should send an audition tape to the WWF. And DeMarco was then named president of WWF Canada and would tell Copeland that he put in a good word. And Copeland actually... So Edge actually had WWE pay for his outstanding college debt. So anyway, Edge would get training with Bret Hart and all that. Johnny Hart, sorry. So anyway, he got his training. He made his WWF debut in 1998 as Edge, a loner character who entered the arena through the crowd for his matches. There were weeks of vignettes that he would wander around darkened city streets and insult innocent pedestrians. His first televised match was against Jose Estrada Jr. Unfortunately, he legitimately injured Estrada's neck. He would actually be his first pay-per-view match was at SummerSlam in August of '98, being Sable's mystery tag title against Jacqueline and Mark Merrill. Edge was put in a feud with Gangrel, the vampire wrestler, but they, alongside Christian, were called the Brood, the vampire group. Edge won the WWF Intercontinental Belt in a house show against Jeff Jarrett in 1999. But Jarrett would beat him at Fully Loaded. So, yeah, Edge and Christian were great, especially in those TLC matches with the Hardy Boys. So Edge went along, decent wrestler in the 2000s, but unfortunately, problems would come with it. Edge won the Money in the Bank ladder match, which meant he had a shot at the World Heavyweight title or the WWE title within 1 year. But Edge was good. Unfortunately, Edge also had a problem as Matt Hardy legitimately was pissed off that Edge and Lita were actually rooming together while Matt Hardy was injured. So that legitimate storyline was in the WWE and caused a lot of friction and all that. Edge became more of a hated character, despite the fact that, it was just unknown. Anyway, Edge lost his match at New Year's Revolution, January 2006, for the Intercontinental Belt. So Ric Flair still was the IC champ. But Edge shocked a lot of people by using his Money in the Bank briefcase and cashed it in after John Cena survived in the Elimination Chamber match, but he was hurt. But Edge was cashing it in, and Edge easily won. And that's when people call him the master, the the man of opportunity or something. Anyway, it was hard to believe. Edge ended up losing the WWE Championship to Cena at the Royal Rumble, but won it over Rob Van Dam. Cena would beat Edge at Unforgiven in Toronto, of all places. So Cena beat Edge in Toronto, and a lot of fans booed him, obviously. Edge would form Rated RKO with Randy Orton and actually won the tag belts. It was part of La Familia with the Guerrero family. It was sickening to see Edge align himself with Vicky Guerrero. I mean, Vicky Guerrero is a bitch, and don't you forget that. So, anyway, Edge had a torn Achilles tendon, and a lot of people said he was out for a year. But he came back a few months early and surprised everyone by competing at the Royal Rumble. In the Royal Rumble match as the 29th entrant, winning the match over John Cena. Edge would have to face Jericho for the World Heavyweight belt at WrestleMania. And Edge turned his face, or good guy, for the first time since 2004. But Edge failed. but he would still win a few heavyweight belts, especially 2007 when he shocked everyone after a Batista Undertaker match to become the ultimate opportunist. He, of course, would have to retire, despite the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship while he defended the title over Alberto Del Rio. He had a previous neck injury and cervical fusion, and he had numbness in his arms. He passed basic strength tests prior to WrestleMania, but WWE needed him to get further testing, and an MRI said he had to retire. He had cervical spinal stenosis. Doctors did not clear him to compete, obviously, because risk of neck down paralysis or death if he took a hard fall. Edge would have to retire and relinquish the heavyweight championship. Edge would actually help Christian win the vacant World Heavyweight belt against Del Rio. Anyway, Edge was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2012. There were a lot of people saying that Edge might come back to the WWE, but he didn't really do that. In 2020, Edge came in at I don't know what number it was, but in 2020, he came in as a Royal Rumble. And everyone was shocked that he could be in the Royal Rumble because didn't he retire? Well, that. But yeah, he shocked a lot of people. He eliminated 3 wrestlers. Edge would face Randy Orton in the last man standing match at WrestleMania 36, which Edge won. Edge would face Orton at Backlash, which Orton won, but Edge had a torn tricep, which meant he had to be sidelined for a while. After a 7-month hiatus, he returned to Raw January 2021, said he would enter the match. He actually entered at number 1 and took care of Randy Orton, becoming the 8th man to win the Royal Rumble twice, the 3rd man to win it for the number 1 position after Shawn Michaels and Rey Mysterio. Although actually in reality there was a 4th, but it's the name who shall not be he who shall not be named. It was amazing. Edge decided to face Roman Reigns for the Universal belt at WrestleMania 37. But Daniel Bryan was added to the match, making it a triple threat. But Roman Reigns ended up winning the title anyway. Edge would face Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel and actually beat him, which was shocking. Edge was known for having the best use of the spear, all that. He was decent. He actually ended up being part of Mind of Mencia when it was decent. He was a commentator for the Royal Religious Rumble. He would spear Tom Cruise in a sense. Whoever won the Royal Religious Rumble would be the ultimate number 1 human being. And of course, with Edge spearing Tom Cruise, he got Carlos Mencia to pin him, and Carlos Mencia said a few things. Edge would be on Mad TV in 2007 in the famous Bobby Lee segment, of the Korean soap opera. It was kind of nice to see him face Bobby Lee and then end up losing to him. Well, of course, this is scripted TV. So yeah. So Edge was an icon in the WWE. His personal life. He resides in North Carolina. He actually is a fan of the Leafs and the Devils. What? Fuck. Copeland is friends with Jason Rizzo, aka Christian, and they grew up together. Copeland has a lot of tattoos. Edge was a figure in the HGH scandal in 2007, but he did admit to using steroids in 2004 after neck surgery as an experiment. But it slowed him down, so he got off the substance. Anyway, yeah. Cole and Edge doesn't smoke. He claims he had his first cigarette when he was 16, hated it, and has not smoked it since. Well, he's kind of like me. Like, I swiped a cigarette from my brother when my brother was living with me. I was about, what, 20? So I smoked it. Bleh. I'm like, bleh, didn't like it, and then I haven't touched a cigarette since. Copeland actually married Val Venus's sister, Alana Morley, but would divorce a couple years later. His second marriage was to Lisa Ortiz in October of 2004. So he married someone just 7 months after he was divorced from his first. But after marrying Lisa, he actually had an affair with Lita, aka Amy Dumas. Of course, that was the Matt Hardy situation. The relationship became public knowledge February 2005, which meant that aka Edge, would be divorcing from Ortiz. And then Edge had a relationship with former WWE wrestler Beth Phoenix and had a daughter named Lyric Rose Copeland. And their second daughter is Ruby Ever Copeland. So anyway, Edge would get married to Beth Phoenix. So yeah. Kind of funny, huh? But yeah, he's a 4-time WWE champion and a 7-time World Heavyweight champion, winning 11. He's 11-time world champion and won a lot of tag belts, winning it 14 times. That's pretty amazing, don't you think? He was named the Comeback Wrestler of the Year in 2004, ranked number 2 in the PWI 500 in 2007, Most Hated Wrestler in 2006, Match of the Year in 2000 and 2001, both ladders and chairs matches. So yeah. He won CBS Sports Best Moment of the Year in 2020, returning to WWE at the Royal Rumble. So yeah, lots of WWE belts and all that. So yeah, Edge was a decent wrestler. And don't you forget it. He's Canadian too, so that helps a lot. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.